The human body is an amazing thing, but what kind of strength would it take to fight an attack from within?
The nurses and the doctors had no idea what was wrong with him, just that he was very, very sick, and they just kept saying that he's very, very sick and we don't know what's wrong with him.
When tragedy threatened to sideline athlete Michael LaForgia, he and his family were forced to confront that question.
She put me in the ambulance. She didn't know if she would ever see me again alive.
This is his story.
My name is Michael LaForgia. I am 44 years old, live in Smithtown, New York. I worked quite a bit. I was a moderate workaholic, and I did work a lot of hours. I was into a few athletic hobbies. I would run and do triathlons. The year before I got sick, 2004, was a very active year for me. I did the half Ironman in Orlando, Disney, and I did the New York City Marathon.
We had a wonderful life. We lived in a beautiful area in Smithtown, and the children were doing beautifully, and Michael was doing beautifully with his career.
Wanted to I guess, live the American dream and, make more money and grow the family and those types of things.
We had a beautiful life. We vacationed with our best friends every year.
He was the prize of the family because he's the youngest and a boy, the only son.
New Year's Eve, I began to feel in the middle of the night ill. I felt what felt like flu-like symptoms. I had a fever, I had chills, but I remember them being very violent chills, and literally jumping off the bed. And I began to feel nauseous and then throwing up quite often.
I put the kids to bed and we went to bed. And about an hour later, that's when Michael started to get sick. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning on the 1st of January, and he just started with chills. He was freezing cold, and there was nothing we could do to warm him up.
By that morning of New Year's Day, it just occurred to us that we probably should head home. I mean, again, at this time I'm thinking it's just a flu.
It was very, very scary for me. By 5 o'clock in the morning, he started to have to go to the bathroom and be sick in the bathroom, and between freezing and being in the bathroom, I went to the main desk to try to get him more blankets to warm him down, but he was shaking so much he couldn't even sit still at all. The first thing we decided was to head home because in our minds he had the flu. I drove home from Maine. It was a very long, hard day. I've never driven the whole way myself. It was a long drive with the 2 children. Michael, sick, sitting next to me. Looking back now, I realized that he was literally dying, sitting next to me the whole way home. And we thought he had the flu, but he was dying right next to me. When
I returned to bed, my wife, to check on me, turned the light on, and she noticed that I had a purple rash to the skin all over my body, almost looked purple. And of course, she was very alarmed and decided to take me to the hospital.
I kind of put him on my back and we walked with him leaning on me to the car.
She literally threw me on her back like a fireman and walked me down the 13 steps into the basement and into the car, took me to a local hospital for their emergency care.
When we got to the hospital, he was purple and he got weak very, very quickly. The nurses and the doctors had no idea what was wrong with him, just that he was very, very sick, and they just kept saying that he's very, very sick and we don't know what's wrong with him.